Dear viewers, welcome to the talk show. In this episode, we seek to focus or cater to the youths who seek educational opportunities as well as work opportunities abroad. Now, as economy is taking center stage in the global front, things in the national front are not looking so promising, especially with the mass exodus of Nepali youths seeking to go abroad for either work, studies, or for migration purpose, which certainly is inviting some detrimental consequences in the economic and social fabric of the country in the near future. And this all is happening at a time when the global job markets and the education systems are taking quite a shift, opening new avenues of opportunities for each global denizen. Now, this could be an opportunity for Nepal and Nepali youths if a positive intervention is put forth. This is a belief held by educationists who have a wealth of knowledge in the global as well education system. And today we are so pleased to have with us in our studios one of the seasoned educationists, also a legal practitioner from Australia, which is in fact one of the major education attraction destination for Nepali youths. Warm welcome to Ms. Serryn, Regan, to the studios of Nepal Television.
Thank you very much for having me.
First of all, let's start with the education system that has attracted Nepali youths for quite some time now and still continues to lure them therein. Could you share with us what sets apart the education system compared to the rest of the world?
Australian education is very much focused on two parts. So there's the university sector and there's the vocational sector, and both are very, very strong, and they're both very needed, because there's a recognition in Australia, as there is in other parts of the world, some other parts of the world, that if everybody had a PhD in a country but had no skills as given by vocational education, then the country would not run, industry would fall apart. So that understanding is very strong in Australia, and so there is a dual system, if you like, or a dual part to the system. And we've seen education change a lot in Australia over the time of COVID, which we've also seen globally, of course. Everybody was affected. But what we saw with that was a massive change from all brick and mortar on campus to an online environment. So there were those of us who were very well prepared for that and had in fact had an extremely leading edge online platform which we designed and custom built ourselves well before COVID hit. But many education providers were caught off guard. So the shift to online was not as smooth for all, but it was definitely recognised as being necessary. So that has been a major change that we've seen through COVID, is the shift to online education and the need to do that with real quality so students don't lose any benefit whatsoever by the fact that they're doing it online. And what we've also seen in terms of education is the fact that, as you mentioned in your introduction, we're living in a very small world. Very, very small world. So
ever shrinking.
Ever shrinking, it so is. And we're all very much connected. And in that context, you could be anywhere in the world and you could just instantly connect with people in other countries. You can instantly connect with a job in another country. I've worked for, it's quite common, it's become normal. So that transportability and that instant connection that digital skills technology gives us is just part of our world now. So education fits into that world, and that is something that we have to get used to. It is something that Australia has embraced.
We can very much see that the Australian government has been very, very much prioritizing its educational infrastructure, policies as well.
Yes.
If you look at the statistics, it's not only the Nepali student, but then much of South Asian youth. So
Yes.
What is that factor that gets them attracted to Australia?
Australia takes education very, very seriously. So we have experts in education in Australia that have a very long history of delivering education and making it about the quality of the education that is delivered. If you go from one provider to another in terms of the product that you receive. So there's a consistency in quality, there's a consistency in what you get out of the qualification. They're called training packages that contain the qualifications are very carefully developed with industry consultation and government and education providers so that they meet the needs of industry in terms of the education that's being delivered. So all of that becomes a recognised product.
How do you see the education pattern or approaches globally, given the global opportunities, changing or shifting?
Yes, I think there's a rising level of importance that's being given to vocational education, or it's also called skills education. Just recognising the need for skills education in terms of preparing someone to actually work. So we have a slogan, if you like, in Australia in relation to vocational education, which is job ready. Mm-hmm. So the aim of vocational education is to make someone job ready. So they don't just have the knowledge, they actually know how to apply it, and they've had practical experience of doing that during their educational experience, which means they come out, they walk into a workplace and they're actually ready to go. That is needed globally, and that there's an increasing awareness of that as a fact.
It's been quite a long time now that Nepali youths or Asia or youths from South Asia have been going to Australia for education, and many have decided to reside there, right?
Yes.
So can you share with us your observation on how the education system there has changed or transformed their lives, or at least their perspectives?
Yes, well, I think it's a great question, and I feel the main thing that it has given them is opportunity. So they see that if they go to a place where they're going to receive quality education and a product that is then recognised globally, that gives them an opportunity that they may not have otherwise had. And that's very valuable. So they see an opening that is going to afford them something for their future. It's going to not only give them a great experience in terms of education that's delivered to that level, but also open something up for them in terms of a career.
The brain drain factor element, at least if not for now, on the long run, it looks like a very concerning factor. Mm-hmm. So in this scenario, what could be the middle path? How can you address the aspirations and the national need? How can that be worked on?
It is such an important question. In fact, it is the question, I feel, for Nepal at this time, because what you speak about in terms of the brain drain, if there are approximately 1,000, from what I'm informed from very reliable channels, approximately 1,000 young Nepalese youth leaving the country every day. That's not every week, not every month, that's actually every day. We're talking a huge number of Nepali youth that are leaving. Whether they come back or not is another question. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they have the view that the only way that they're going to succeed, or the best opportunity that they're going to be given, is by leaving. Where does that leave Nepal in, say, 10 years' time? What happens when all of these, and I've met so many of them, and I'm struck, like truly struck, by the hard-working nature of Nepali youth. The genuineness and the heart of the people is quite extraordinary. But if that talent is pouring out of the country, then where does that leave the country in 10 years' time? It means that the leadership of companies, the leadership of the country, the leadership of society in whatever way is left drained. There's a lack, there's a gap. So personally, I think that is very unfortunate because of the quality that I see in the Nepali people. then Nepal is facing a really big problem, which I think may or may not be recognised at the moment. There are some of us who do, we're having this conversation, but widely so across Nepal, maybe it's not quite seen yet.
Right, but what can be the win-win situation? How can we bring these elements together?
Exactly, and that's what we feel very strongly about, which is why we've designed a program, because we see education being delivered into Nepal at an affordable rate is absolutely critical to stopping this brain drain, stopping this leakage of talent from the country. If we can find a way, which we believe that we have, but if we can have a way where Nepali youth can see the value in staying here, if they can get the same education as they could if they came to Australia, the same education, but staying here in their own country, and then be provided with an opportunity to work after that, after they've graduated, again without leaving Nepal, then that's a massive win-win.
But how can that be done?
How can it be done?
The main question,
okay,
right.
So, getting into details. What we see and we see this as a step-by-step process. So the first step that we focused on is IT, because we're living in such a technological world and it's only increasingly focusing on technology and using that for everything. So it's a base level skill now. We have to have people in every industry, every business, whatever it is, they need someone to supply their IT needs. So that's across everything. So that is one profession that if we have people educated really, really well in that industry, then they can literally get a job anywhere and they don't have to leave the country that they live in. They can actually be an IT professional from their own country. But first of all, they have to be educated to the level that is going to actually meet the requirements of the companies or the industry that they're going to be working for, which could be global. It could be an international company, it could be a global company, or it could be a smaller company located literally anywhere in the world, or it could be a Nepali company. But they need to have that level of education. And we see IT as being a skill that is going to give the Nepali youth the best possible opportunity to be right up there with the leading edge of where all industry is going and where in fact it already is, in a way that then produces a type of career, a professional career which is very well paid, that can literally be done from anywhere because it's technology based. Right. It's perfect. So that's what we see as being a very grand opportunity for Nepali youth.
That sounds quite incredible. So how far have you progressed? What have been the achievements so far?
So we have the program ready to go. We have a very extensive expertise in IT. And our team has decades of experience in education, and we've combined them and have a diploma of information technology, which is diploma of IT, within the Australian accredited system, which is already there, and a platform online, which, as I said, we custom built and designed and custom built ourselves. So the program is already there, and we are going to deliver that into Nepal so that people can actually receive an Australian diploma here in Nepal, and they can do it from home as long as they've got a computer and as long as they've got an internet connection. They can actually receive Australian accredited training and education here in Nepal. And so that would be via our online system, and it would also be via online tutorials where they get to actually be with classmates and actually with our trainer and assessor who's allocated to them, and they are basically nurtured throughout the entire period of training and it's very, very practical in all the major aspects of IT: cybersecurity, AI, front and back end web development, databases, etc., etc. The list goes on. IT is absolutely central and critical to everything. Even if we just look at cybersecurity, what business is not affected by the risk of that field at the moment? And it's seriously concerning to every single business, and they need to have a strategy in place. So we need professionals who can work with that. But we also need professionals who can work with every aspect of the technology needs of any company whatsoever.
Could you shed more light on the eligibility part, and especially whether it is what modality of the course it is, what is it equivalent to, or its affiliation?
Yes. Okay, so it's a vocational education qualification. So it's at the diploma level. And that means that it's skills-based, and at the end of it, it's accredited training in that particular qualification, which has a code. It's called ICT 50220, Diploma of IT, which is recognised by the Australian government. It's accredited by the Australian government, and it's recognised also by industry. And the content of the qualification is driven by what industry says is necessary for IT training. So people come out at the end with the skills and the knowledge to be ready to work in IT, and it's called...
On the global front.
On a global front, and it's called a fully stacked IT professional. So they're actually, in other words, they are ready to work.
Right. Let us come to the other reality of the entire scene. I said earlier that majority of the students head for abroad education because they're not happy with the education system here. And there is a large mass who see an opportunity because they get to work, earn, and sustain their own education, support their own education, which they wouldn't get should it be in the domestic front, meaning the affordability factor.
Yes.
So how does this work?
Yeah, that is
because that's going to be the major challenge.
It's critical. It's absolutely critical. So we want to deliver, we will deliver the same quality as we deliver in Australia, and it is leading edge in terms of what's being delivered in Australia. It's absolutely leading edge because all we care about is the quality of what we offer. That same quality will come into Nepal, but we can't charge the same price, and we have no interest whatsoever in charging the same price. So people can choose. If they want to come to Australia and study with us or any other provider, they are absolutely welcome, of course, if that's what they want. But if they want to stay in Nepal, they should be given the opportunity to do so at a price that they can afford and still receive an Australian diploma, which is, as I said, skills-based, and is going to actually produce a readiness to work so that they can literally step straight into a well-paid career and not leave the country. But there'll be no difference. So it means that we start to make it equivalent. They can either come to Australia or any other country that they want to go to, or they can get the same product, exactly the same as Australian students receive or international students coming to Australia receive, but they can stay here and get it, no difference, and at a very affordable price. That to us, see, we're not here to come and say, well, let's charge the same price and deliver it into Nepal. No way. Why would we want to do that? The whole reason we came up with this program was because we saw that massive leak of talent from Nepal, and we were, quite frankly, horrified to look at that and think, what does that mean for this country? This country is amazing. Look at the setting of the country. For heaven's sake, you're right next to the Himalayas. I had the absolute pleasure of having a mountain view plane trip a couple of days ago, and it is extraordinary. What other country in the world is situated in an environment like this? It's very, very special place, very beautiful. And as I said, the people are also that. the heart of the people, and the work ethic and the work commitment and the commitment to life that I'm seeing in the people is also extraordinary. And that should be valued. It should be valued so that people look at it and say, well, it's worth us staying in this country, because if they get a great education and they get a great job, then and they get paid well, then that is also an investment back into Nepal, which means that Kathmandu, Nepal as a whole, actually starts to grow, but without losing what's beautiful about Nepal, without losing what's important about Nepal.
Right,
and that's why.
I understand where this is coming from, and I understand that you've done quite a bit of progress, already spearheaded with the pilot project, and I have already been screening some youths for the pilot program.
Yes.
Could you quickly walk us through as we come towards the conclude?
Absolutely. So the pilot program is an initial offering of 20 places, which is pretty much done. And that will be an offering to those people as basically a message to the rest of Nepali youth that you can just watch if you want to. And you can see these people go through this program and get jobs at the end, and we'll do everything we can to help with that. We can't obviously promise that that's going to be the case, but we are absolutely committed to this. I'm sure you can tell. We'll do everything we can to support those 20, but we want to watch them as they go through, and we want that to be seen by other Nepali youth, so that when they get jobs at the end and they're doing really well, and they can turn around and say, you know what, I didn't need to leave. What I thought I was going to go overseas and get, I got right here. I got the same education as I would have got if I had gone overseas, and I got it here, and now I've got a job and I'm doing really well. I'm with my family, I'm in my country, and I'm helping to grow my country. So that 20, that pilot project is critical, but we're also open to enrolling people at an affordable price now, so they don't actually have to wait.
A couple of questions before we wind up. Number one is the assurance on the quality of the education that would be imparted through online.
Yes.
I think that is one major concern area. How would you do that to the pool that you've screened?
That's perfect. So we are renowned for the quality of our online education in Australia, and we are actually leaders in that field. So I personally was named as an exemplar in education by the immediate past Chief Commissioner of the National Regulator in Australia in 2019, and have also been interviewed several times by the National Regulator for publishing to the entire national group of providers, educational providers, on what quality education looks like. So one of those interviews has been on what quality online education looks like, because it's critical. People need to know that when they do online education that they're not getting any less than going to a campus. So we have shown how to do that, and we're very public and giving of our time in Australia, because we want to share how that is done. We want people to be able to receive quality education, and we know that in order to keep up and to be in advance of where education is going and the world already is, it has to be technology based. So we are so committed to quality through online education that our reputation and our history, our leadership in that area is something that gives great reassurance to our students.
And now the central to this entire thing, the entire efforts that you've been putting, you bring together the concerns that are so rife in the domestic front. Central to this entire idea is about bringing the two education systems together, catering to the need of the Nepali youths for a global standard education system, right?
Correct.
But as you've done quite a bit now, you've come a certain part of your journey, but there's a long way to go. That's how you see it.
Yeah.
But I'm quite interested to know what have been the challenges for you in doing this? Has it been easy? Or what have been the major challenges, and how do you see these challenges in the days to come?
The main challenges have actually been what we have seen in Nepal. It's very challenging to see a country that is so, may I say, precious? It actually is precious, facing such problems. I've never heard of such a massive leak of talent from a country. That, to me, is the biggest challenge. So we put our heads together, so to speak, or you could say we put our hearts together and actually said, well, what can we do about this? What can we offer back in? Because we've got it all ready to go. So the challenge from our point of view of delivering it there wasn't one. It's not difficult. And there was no challenge in us looking at it and saying, well, we want to charge the same amount as we would in Australia, because to us it's not even about that. It's about getting this out to as many people as possible so that they can have the same opportunities without leaving Nepal. So the challenge has been more in seeing the extent of problems that are being faced and not necessarily recognised, except with huge thanks for people like you. But I'm not sure if it's very widely seen yet, and that to us has been the biggest challenge, but also easily met, because if we just deliver the program, which we're ready to go, like it's ready to just switch on and funnel into the country, and as long as someone's got an internet connection that is reliable, which the connection in Nepal is great, and some form of computer, desktop or a laptop, then they're ready to go. We just commence and get them through and get them jobs.
Well, right. Thank you, Ms. Serryn. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing your great thoughts and bringing in such great works and hope to Nepal and the youths herein. Thank you very much. Dear viewers, wherever there is a problem, there will be a solution, and there will be opportunities in guise. So that was the entire essence of the discourse here, where we sought to address the emerging, or one of the most talking problems of Nepal, that's a brain drain. We'll see you next time in the next episode with another burning agenda. For now, from all of us here in the studio, goodbye and namaste.